everybody, and welcome back to Rebooked. If you're wondering why Golden King, it's because we are on something new. We're on a new path here, a little side quest, if you will. This is our first ever episode dedicated to the TNA promotion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, I will be leading you through because I am a part of the TNA family, but of course, you still have GB, you've got Jake, and boys, I got to ask you, we're talking here about TNA, its own episode. It finally happened.
Yes, we've been talking about this for a minute. And we finally, it really just came down to me getting the graphics, everything all sorted out. So, got a new look, got a new, identity here. It's going to be really fun and all the same stuff, but a bit more truncated and a bit faster so that this way, because, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, right? But Jake, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm going to learn a little bit about TNA. I'm excited for the audience to learn a little bit more about TNA. Yeah, how can we go wrong?
It's a little bite-sized episode. TNA, as many of you may know, only weekly show, unlike the other major promotions, have two. So it's a little bit more condensed, but we are going to be following the same format. If you watched our show yesterday, our AEW episode, we have a new narrative notes section. You'll also see it in our SmackDown preview episode, WWE episode releasing tomorrow. So let's get into it. GB, do you want to throw up the TNA narrative notes for this week? Because we'll kind of catch you guys up because we haven't talked about this focused as a separate thing. So we had a big week this week at TNA, but leading up to that, there's been a lot of talk around this WWE TNA partnership, which is primarily focused on the NXT brand, having some crossovers, crossing the line, if you will. So most recently, there was that NXT Roadblock show at the theater at Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, that was my first time seeing that venue on camera. I think they've done MMA and stuff and boxing before, but it's a gorgeous venue.
Yeah. I did an NXT. They did NXT house shows there, I believe.
I believe they did too.
Yeah, because I remember going to one years ago, and then I think they did League of Legends final there as well. It's a sick venue. When I told my wife, because we were watching it like in the bedroom, and she was like, "Oh, they're at Madison Square Garden. That doesn't look like Madison Square Garden." I was like, "Oh no, that's Madison Square Garden Theater." And then she's like, "Wait, there's a theater?" I was like, "Yeah, somehow they just managed to fit a theater inside of the garden. It's crazy." But they have that. Like Wembley also had the same thing when I did Wembley Stadium years ago. They also have a Wembley Theater, or Wembley Convention Center or something like that. That's like inside of it.
Yeah, it's like SoFi has the YouTube theater inside of it.
Same concept, right? Because you sell a smaller venue, but you still sell concessions. It's all part of the same business model. But yeah,
it just always hurts me that I had to go and and TNA talent who took a picture in front of the MSG elevator sign that I'm like, you didn't really perform at MSG. Sorry, guys. So I got a lot of angry DMs this week back from people and blocks and all kinds of stuff.
Why? Come on. Why are you you're the heel? Well, come on. You live in the gimmick.
I live it. It's in my veins. That event was awesome. It featured two huge NXT NA crossover matches between the Hardys defended the TNA tag titles against Fraxium, and the Hardys, in my opinion, looked like they had a little extra pep in their step. They were there to go, because especially
everybody was there. Like everybody was really like, you could tell everyone was excited. Everyone was having fun. Like the Hardys felt excited to be back. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, honestly, that was my. Because I don't watch a lot of NXT, so that was my exposure to Fraxium, really for the first time. Yeah. I know I've seen them here and there, but I never really just don't watch NXT a lot because there's so much other things they got to watch. And man, those guys blew me away. Because then also we got Axiom a little bit more on SmackDown in Barcelona,
right?
So that was pretty cool to see that kind of carry over. But yeah, dude, Matt and Jeff looked so good. And it was just great to see just classic Hardys just doing their thing.
Dude, they're rock stars.
Yeah, they really are. It was dope.
They're legit wrestling rock stars. Like their reactions and meet and greets everywhere we go are around the friggin' block. Like still here we are 20 something years into the business and
Yeah.
everything like that. So they absolutely killed it. And then another big highlight, obviously, there was Moose versus Obafemi for the NXT title, which I believe was the main event of Roadblock. And boys, we talk about meat on this
That was some
show.
meat.
That was a full steakhouse on your plate there.
That was a
Ain't that right?
porterhouse, baby.
That was
Yeah.
crazy, man.
Yeah, it gave me the meat sweats. There's so much meat in that ring.
Woo! Dude, the entrances alone, just so much aura, man. They were like, when they were walking out, like Moose, and the whole crowd's going, Moose, Moose, like that, hitting the right at
People
the
got
beat.
in, the NXT crowd got in on the
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you knew Obafemi was coming out, like the way that crowd, the way that he plays the music, it really works. It's, you know, because I'm not crazy about a lot of the theme songs. Like, I'll definitely say theme song wise, Moose clears, you know, Obafemi in that regard. But I got to give Obafemi credit for like taking it and really owning the music and making it a part of his entrance. It's really cool. It's really dope to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing someone like Moose, who's admittedly a gigantic man himself, get press slammed to the floor by another human,
That was
that
crazy.
tells you what kind of meat was on display. But
Awesome
hell of
meat.
an event there. And that will roll us into this past weekend, which TNA put on Sacrifice from El Paso, Texas, the El Paso County Coliseum, an historic venue, run by the legendary Gory Guerrero way back in the day, promoted there, wrestled there back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s. It's a pretty legendary little building there.
That's
But
awesome.
packed the house. And so, yeah, we saw some more NXT representation. Of course, Ash and Heather by Elegance, who are some of my favorite characters on our show. They're just so over the top and ridiculous. They are the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions, but were immediately confronted by NXT's Jakara Jackson, and Lash Legend showed up in the Impact Zone. So I'm sure we'll see more of that.
More crossovers for sure, for
Oh,
sure. But one thing I will say
moving
though is
right along.
I just want to say real fast, I like that we have, you know, we're starting to get even more tag teams in the TNA tag division as well. I think Heather and Ash by Elegance are perfect bad guy tag teams. They're so good.
Fantastic character. And it just their manager wrestled with them this past weekend in the title match. Like he's very, very funny. And so I encourage you to check that out. There was more NXT representation on Sacrifice, as of course, Masha Slamovich defended the TNA Knockouts World title against NXT's Cora Jade. This has been kind of building back and forth, along with some Tessa Blanchard tensions. And Masha ultimately defeated, sent Cora Jade packing. I think she's in the rear view for now. Talking about Moose and Jeff Hardy from Roadblock, Moose went from meat on meat to his first ever ladder match.
That's
and boys,
right.
I gotta,
I should have
anybody
put
who
that in the
saw
thing.
it,
That's wild that that's his first ever ladder.
first ever going up against a guy who was, I believe,
made his name doing ladder matches.
39th ladder match as of Sacrifice.
At what point do you ask when is enough enough? You know, when, how many times?
Who are you talking about?
I'm just saying, Jeff, like the
You're talking about the human car wreck that is Jeff Hardy. Just throws himself about.
When it comes to ladders and tables, it's Energizer Bunny, baby.
He was doing the Darby stuff before Darby was around. So
yeah, right, legit.
Yeah, he really was. Yeah,
Darby.
This was a crazy matchup that just deserves a little bit of attention. It was awesome, and it's just, you know, again, it's just Moose in this X Division run has been very fun. I know that people have you know, thoughts and opinions on the X Division as a whole, and like, you know, Moose holding the title, but I've enjoyed it, man. He's me. I always like Moose, so I'm just a simp for the guy. Sorry, I'm just gonna be real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of the it gets to be a prime example of the catchphrase has always been, it's not about weight limits. You know, that in the vein of the Samoa Joe and Abyss, guys who won the X Division title. It's not all cruiserweight, you know, junior heavyweight style matches. You know, it's literally, it's just about kind of pushing that limit. That's kind of what it's about. Getting on to this last topic, and before we get into our main discussion of the show, there was a big old classic heel turn at the
Oh
end of
man.
this show. There was the giant 10-man cage match, which was done war game style between the System and the Colognes and a ragtag group of baby faces. But GB, you were left feeling some kind of way
I
at the end
couldn't
of this with
I
Nic Nemeth.
I couldn't believe my eyes because Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, they're putting their bodies on the line for TNA, doing all their stuff, and then what does this dang scumbag do, Nic Nemeth?
Scoundrel.
He's scoundrel. He goes right after Matt Hardy, and I just thought that was like a crazy moment. And I think it's interesting, right? In a time where we have so many of these, like heel turns or like big moments and whatnot. I think one can look at this and be like, oh, why would someone take the heel turn angle like the way that they did it there? It was so well done. It all fit because if you've been following TNA TV, Nic Nemeth has justified reasons to be pissed the hell off. He was the TNA world champion. He lost to Joe Hendry. He's kind of had to take a back seat to the guy. Like, I can't wait to hear what Nick has to say. But also shout out to Ryan Nemeth, the ride or die. Okay. Because my guy was there with him no matter what. He was like trying to get out of the cage, figure out what the hell was going on. And then Ryan turned around, saw Nick beating on Matt, and Ryan was like, well, I guess this is what we are now.
I guess this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, to be fair, Ryan was the one who slid in first and locked the cage door.
Oh, so Ryan was,
So
that's right. It looked like Ryan was like struggling to open the door. But like, okay, so I was taken for a ruse there. Damn you, Ryan Nemeth.
We'll talk about like there's premeditation is on the table. Let's just put it that way. We don't have that confirmation in the story yet, but this coming Thursday, and when you see this, which will be tonight, we should hopefully start to get some answers.
Answers.
Yeah.
I haven't trusted Nic Nemeth since he dyed his hair black that one time. So
touche.
This should not be a surprise to anyone.
Well played, sir. Well played.
I mean, look, yeah, he's a hell of a heel. Is no strange role to Nic Nemeth as a performer. So, I mean,
and he's
if you're
good at it. He is very good at it.
He is.
What? He's the show off. He's the steal the show guy. You know what I mean? He's cocky. He's arrogant. It fits.
Yeah.
But like, this is like a new. It's not just the smarmy, arrogant heel guy. I'm curious to see where he takes this from a bloodlust, angry, like darker heel kind of thing. Like, why Nick? Why kind of thing, right?
Yeah, he has a lot of legitimate justification for his actions as far as like the series of events that have occurred. And if anything, I think Joe Hendry has needed good foil for his title run, and this is perfect.
The meat of our discussion is going to be about what I believe to be one of the best stories, if not the best, we're telling in TNA right now. But I really think it's one of the best stories going on in pro wrestling at the moment. And that was, the match happened at Sacrifice, but it's been kind of building for about 2 months now. Mike Santana and the returning Mustafa Ali have just been telling a great story, guys. If you've been paying attention, Ali, I'm going to give him a shout out individually just because he has such a mind for like, how do I make this cinematic? What shot do we need? How do we want this to look? How do we want this to sound? Everything is thought about.
Yeah.
Nothing is just a match. Nothing is just wrestling. So, and he puts that thought in. Mike is meeting him there with these ideas, and this has gotten personal.
Yeah. So I am a massive fan of Mike Santana, as everyone knows, because at the end of the day, Boricua for life. We always have a flag nearby. But I'm excited for this because this feels like I don't want to say the future of TNA, but this feels like your next run up of the main eventers. You know what I mean? Like Mustafa Ali, come on, the guy's got to have a run with the championship eventually, right? And then Mike Santana has just been building up this hero's journey since coming to TNA. We were there, Jake, at Rebellion. We got to see that the first like step really in that journey. So I think like this is. You're building something between your two next aces, I think, in TNA. That's how I'm seeing this, because these guys are putting on banger matches. It's been it's been so fun to see them go toe to toe, and just this match in general was like, I think also just showing uh like the range and how these two guys can like captivate, in the ring when given that time to do so. It was awesome.
It's always nice to see a great story being told outside of a title picture too.
Yes.
And which then just makes you more excited about seeing them get involved in one. But like, yeah, it's shaping up to be like a really nice rivalry and like something like I just want to see it keep getting drawn out because they have great chemistry together. They
Yeah.
have they have really great chemistry together. And like I mean, yeah, like you said, Mustafa Ali is just like he is so good in the ring, but he does feel like a story first kind of guy,
Mhm.
which then just it really and I don't know why more people aren't like this. Then it really accentuates what you do in the ring.
Hmm.
A-
Yeah.
and yeah, I just give me more of that.
There's no doubt about it, and I mean, credit also to Mike Santana, who, much of this story, not everything has to be rooted in reality,
Mhm.
fictional characters and backgrounds and everything like that, just like any movie. But Mike here tapping into his very real, like, journey with sobriety. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
that's always a touchy subject to get real about, and he's been very honest and very open, and, like, even these kind of heated vignettes, which our team has shot, I think, to look great, like, kinda bringing you into, like, an AA meeting, so to speak, and, like,
Right.
the disrespect that Ali is showing him and everything, and just the basis of the story is not just like, "I'm better than you," it's there's really deep-seated reasoning for
Yeah.
why these 2 are fighting and everything like that, and what the Ali character believes about the Mike Santana character, and what the Mike Santana character is willing to do to shut that down, and, it's just really good, and I loved Ali going over in this first matchup between them at Sacrifice because it leads to his character's whole point is the idea of, like, Santana thinks he's the man, the
Hmm.
next
Mhm.
guy to be on top, but given his past, questioning, he can't handle that pressure. He's gonna crack,
Yeah.
he's gonna
Yeah.
break, he's gonna go back to his old crappy habits, and he's gonna disappoint all of you.
Yeah.
So he lost this match, nefarious means, of course,
Mhm.
and,
Which you
Ali,
you
again,
fairly called on commentary, I'm assuming, right, Matthew?
uh, I call it right down the middle.
Right down the middle, every single time.
I mean, I didn't see when he grabbed the ropes, but if I
That's
can't
fair.
see it, I
That's
don't
fair.
know
But that's not
what you want
his
me to
job to
call.
begin
It's
with.
Yeah,
not
That's
your
the
job. It's not.
referee's job.
I'm not
That's to be
my
fair.
job is not to
I'm
be
fine.
omniscient.
Yeah.
Granted, and I want to be clear here. As a commentator, you have access to a lot of screens. Your kind of job is to be watching the screen, but it's perfectly fine. I completely understand. You weren't looking at the screen at that moment in time.
Oh,
You were focused on
great.
another
I'll tell
task.
Eddie Smith, I'll tell George Veras, I'll tell
Hair
Mark
in the
Brown in the
eyes.
truck
Hair
that
it
they
was
weren't doing their job right to show me that.
his
Thanks, I'll
hair
let
was
him
in the
know.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you know what though? I think that what makes this story, you had mentioned it before about it being, rooted in the reality of it. And, look, I think wrestling always tells its best stories when it's rooted in some kind of reality, some kind of truth, right? And, I think like Mike Santana's journey when he had left TNA to go to AEW and coming back to TNA, and because he wants to establish himself as a main event star, as a singles guy, a guy who can be trusted to carry the company. That's a powerful story to tell, and as a Hispanic guy, as a dude who's gone through my own journey of like needing to prove myself, it's one I can personally relate to. So I am very excited to see where this journey ultimately culminates. But I really hope that whatever happens, it's Mustafa Ali holding the TNA championship, and it's Mike Santana who's the one who takes it from him. That's what I want
Ooh.
to have happen down the line. Even if it goes
Yeah.
X Division, but I think both of those guys can fight for that belt. I want to see it
I think
down the
so too.
line. It'd be
They
super
they
fun.
both made their intentions clear about it, Santana wants the world title, Ali has said, "I want the world title," so that's clearly kind of what's underneath the skin there,
Yeah.
and, let's just say, there's a big event in Los Angeles coming up where a lot of things may culminate.
Ooh.
And maybe 3 knuckleheads who talk about wrestling on podcasts might get together.
Oh snap, dude! We got to
So-
talk about what we're doing for that.
We will. We
Yes, we
will.
do.
We won't bore fine people with those technical
Not
aspects.
having Korean barbecue.
Not
That's
having
it.
Korean barbecue. That is
Never. It's
We-
twice that's been mentioned this week between our shows already, GB. He's
Yeah.
mentioned it twice.
he really has. He's got a bone to pick with KBBQ.
I'm adamant. Yeah.
yeah. Hey Jake, for your birthday,
How
you
about
want
some
to go?
American barbecue?
You want to? I
Yeah.
was gonna say you want to go get some KBBQ, but that was
No,
the
no.
appropriate answer. That what you just said.
So, folks, those are the highlights of stuff that's gone on in TNA this week. We appreciate you being here. Before we let you go, though, because we have the availability, it's right here in front of me because I have the inside knowledge.
Ooh.
In case it hasn't been already out there on social media anyway. But
Okay.
tonight, if you want to check out TNA, keep in mind some of the stuff we talked about. You're going to be able to see Joe Hendry and Elijah team up to take on Brian
Ooh.
Myers and Eddie Edwards of the System. Can the System
Always a good
bounce
one.
back from Sacrifice? We will finally hear.
System needs a hard reset.
It could be.
Ooh.
And stay tuned. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. We will see, actually, speaking of Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana, after the shenanigans, Santana did get a rematch. That goes down tonight. That goes down.
Ooh.
We will have a champion celebration by Elegance. For Ash and Heather by Elegance get to have their championship celebration. I'm sure nobody will ruin that. And we will finally hear from Nic and Ryan Nemeth. Why? We'll start to get an explanation
Oh, could you?
from the horses' mouths, as they say.
Ooh.
Or the
So-
horse's ass, whichever
Ooh,
whichever
whoa.
side of the road you fall.
That
on.
was a Hannafin like spot.
That was-
Dang it. So we're all that action and more. Make sure you check out TNA Plus, Sportsnet 360 in Canada, all around the world. You can check it out. But gentlemen, are you looking forward most to on TNA Impact this week? I'll ask you that. Which one excites you the most? GB?
I am very much looking forward to that Nic Nemeth, Ryan Nemeth promo. I loved the way that whole sequence happened. It felt really dark, really ominous. Everyone trying to like climb in to like save Matt Hardy. And we know that, Matt Hardy is hurt from, the result of this and other things, obviously. But, so like, there's added tension to all of this. It's going to be really exciting, but also like, how's the response going to be, right? And who, more importantly, makes that response? That I think is the thing we got to look out for. So I'm pumped for that.
I mean, you had
Great.
me at Joe Hendry and Elijah.
Yeah.
I mean,
If that don't break
I'm-
down in a song.
I'm sold. Like, yeah. I mean, give me those two doing a concert together. I'm all here. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Well, again, all of that goes down tonight. But folks, thank you so much for joining us as you always do. Special little TNA mini-sode as always. Like, subscribe, comment. Those things help us out so darn much.
Share.
Share with your friends, with a family, with a cat, with a dog, with a local on the street, whoever. Just share it with them. Doesn't matter who.
I agree.
And do me a favor. Comment down below. You can throw some meat in there as usual, but tell us who you think is the greatest X Division champion of all time.
Some good options.
It's a unique division for TNA. So tell us who is the best of the best. So you think about that. We'll share it next week. But for GB, for Jake, I am the Drama King. Of course, we will see you next week. Tune into all our other episodes, and we will see you soon.